have a report here on the best and worst rookie classes and a mock draft to look at here from one of the Kings, Dane Brugler. Zach, what you have for us?
Yes, so the mock draft situation, then we can get into the rookie class. Dane's put out, this is his second one, but he put out a 2-rounder. And the offensive tackle group, Brian and I have both looked at quite a few so far.
Yes.
Very deep. And there's a lot of good offensive linemen in this first round. So for Cowboy fans that are thinking, man, we'd really like to improve along the offensive line,
yes,
could be an opportunity to do it.
That's a must.
So Dane's got the Cowboys at pick 24, taking Tyler Guyton, who people in this area probably know. He went to TCU, then transferred to Oklahoma. So I'm sure Carter Freeman.
Yeah, he just went 6 to midnight.
Big fan of Tyler Guyton. So Dane writes, after the loss to the Packers, I'm sure Cowboy fans were expecting to see a defensive player here, but Tyron Smith might leave in free agency. No. And if Dallas keeps Tyler Smith at left guard, left tackle shoots to the top of the need list. Based on his raw traits, Guyton could go much earlier than this, writes Dane Brugler. Now, I don't think you're the biggest Guyton fan, Brian. Am I wrong?
Not at all. Not at all.
Guyton's not your guy?
Not my guy at all. I think there's several guys, and I was pulling up my notes here. My one notes are sitting here taking forever to pull up. But, yeah, when you start to look at, like, I was looking at the kid last night from Arizona. I mean, there are several offensive tackles that I would take. Jordan Morgan from Arizona, I would folks are going to – I said this morning on the draft show. This guy's got some Tyron Smith traits to him, the way he plays. He's 6'5", he's 325. He bends his knees, he's powerful. He comes off the ball, he gets into you, he gets movement. Now, again, that's a tackle. I'm kind of sitting there thinking about, what about a center?
Yeah.
We mentioned Jackson Powers Johnson. I think in Dane's mock draft, he had him going 2 spots ahead of Dallas, right? At Miami, 22?
Yes. He's got him going at 21.
21
to Miami.
Gosh, if he got that close,
it would be. And I don't know. I think Graham Barton from Duke, who plays tackle at Duke,
but I think the second round,
because I think the Cowboys are going to move on and they're going to want a center. I mean, I don't know that they bring back Tyler Biotish. I think center definitely is going to be one. In the second round, Texas Longhorn fans will be excited because he's got the Cowboys then taking Jonathan Brooks at running back, which I do think obviously is going to be a big need. We talked to Calvin Watkins yesterday, said the one position group probably going to be the biggest overturn will be running back, because I don't know that Pollard's back. Rico Dowdle, I mean, the issue with him has been health throughout his entire career. Can you count on him? So that he's got Jonathan Brooks, and he writes that this pick makes just too much sense. Pollard's a pending free agent. Running back could be a need for Dallas. And even though Brooks tore his ACL in November, the Cowboys have never shied from taking risks. We know that, especially in the second round. And Brooks was expected to be the running back 1 before his injury and still has a chance to do that. Here's the nugget that you need to know and why Cowboy fans that have followed the draft process are going to say this might end up happening. Dan Cooper, Cowboys doctor, their head physician, performed Brooks' surgery. Yeah. So they're going to have more information than anybody else on
Jalen Smith, they did the same thing with Jalen Smith. That's why they had the most information about the player. So Dr. Cooper's really good at his job.
And that's consistently the round that they're willing to take chances on, whether it be character or injury, whatever. And that's why they have their biggest miss rate of all the rounds, at least when it comes to the top 3. Their biggest miss rate is in the second round over the last decade or whatever, because they take chances there. And they've been chances that have crushed them over the years. And Brooks is good. I mean,
he is a good
just
back.
Watch it, like watching Texas, watching him, like, hey, this dude is clearly one of the upper tier running backs, especially in a draft class like this where there's not maybe not a lot of elite talent there, elite guys there. Like if it wasn't for the injury, I'd be, be like, okay, cool. But off an injury like that, just I'd be a little bit like, you can't find it. There's got to be another running back out there. You don't have to get the guy that just had knee reconstruction.
Well, and can the Cowboys afford to take a risk like that this year? Because ESPN put out the best draft classes of 2023, and this is based on, of course, production. Like, what is the production you got, out of your draft class? Yeah. The Cowboys are usually very high in this. I mean, they're usually a top 10 team. It's no surprise that Houston is number 1 with your starting quarterback C.J. Stroud and then Will Anderson, whom they took in the top 3 picks and was arguably the best player in last year's draft. Then you add in Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Who was fantastic for them. Xavier Hutchinson, who they took in the 6th round, a wide receiver out of Iowa State, has been getting some playing time. But yes, you go down to the bottom of the list, 32 is where we find the Dallas Cowboys.
And the draft is an inexact science, and everybody knows it. I mean, you're gonna have some years where it's not as fruitful for you, and this is obviously just a 1-year judgment. You'll look in a couple more years and really get a better idea. But this is the kind of thing that happens. It happens to the best of us. You're gonna have some years where your draft isn't that great, and when you put all your eggs into the draft basket,
that's the
then
issue, right?
you don't have any margin for error.
There you go. That's it.
The year before you had Tyler Smith and Sam Williams and Jake Ferguson and Deron Bland.
Yeah.
So I do think part of it is the years just average out. And that goes to what Chiafalo was saying.
Yes.
Like, you need 3 perfect ones in a row, I believe, to win the Super Bowl with this team building model.
And we talked about that on the draft show today, and I made that same point. Like, I don't have any lack of faith in what we play in the scouts. Like, it's due to happen. Eventually, you're going to have a draft where, you just lay an egg.
But like Chief says, though, if you put all your eggs in that basket, the margin of error is very small.
Which is exactly why we've been critical of the way this team basically does nothing in free agency. They just punt on it. And it's not like, hey, you've got to be the most aggressive team. You don't every year have to sign the highest paid player at X position.
Well, they did use picks, which they love to make.
They did. Trades.
For trades.
They did.
And that's something
going to impact them this year.
Yeah. We haven't seen them do that in the past.
No, I mean, so now you're looking at, they've got picks in rounds 1, 2, 3 for the upcoming draft and in the 7th, but you're sitting there, without a 4, 5, and 6. And that's also where they've really done a good job. You find a Deron Bland, right, late in the draft.
Best case scenario is they get a 5 and a 6 from that
compensatory stuff.
They think that they're going to get 2 6s, but 5 and a 6 is their hope.
Yeah, I mean, we got to hope that. But man, I mean, who do you think was their best rookie this year? Because they didn't include Brandon Aubrey in this.
TJ Bass.
So TJ Bass, is a guy, and technically he wasn't even part of their rookie class because he was an undrafted signing.
Or the kicker.
Yeah, and they wrote that they did not include Brandon Aubrey as a rookie in this ranking because he had previously played in the USFL, so they didn't include him in this. But, I mean, I think Overshown probably would have ended up being a bright spot for you. Unfortunately, he got hurt. But Mazi, and the stuff with Mazi we talked about earlier is bizarre, the weight loss. And you need Luke Schoonmaker. I mean, I know you were talking about the blocking issues.
Yeah.
And that was his biggest trait. I mean, he was arguably the best blocking tight end. He's got to figure out a way to translate that into the NFL, or else, I don't know. Is he going to be able to sustain a career?
Yeah, right now I feel like I let you down on that one. Luke Schoonmaker.
I feel like he let us down a lot more than you did. So it's all good,
I mean, he's the player.
Yeah.
Rest of the NFC East, Washington was also low at 27. They weren't very high in here of what they were able to get out of the
that corner
class.
did not play as well from Mississippi State.
Very up and down season.
Yeah.
The Giants were at 16. They also took Deontay Banks, the corner out of Maryland that was rumored maybe the Cowboys would have interest in. They didn't. He didn't. I don't think he really performed well on the board. There might have been some IQ questions there. The Eagles, of course, ended up ranking the highest at 11 in the division with Jalen Carter. Tyler Steen ended up starting a couple of games. Sidney Brown, who we loved, and then Keely Ringo started the wild card game for them. They benched James Bradbury and started the rookie out of Georgia.